Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Don Lemon Show, Hot Topics, 10 a.m. Eastern Time here on the East Coast in New York. We are still getting new developments and hearing new things about the death of Charlie Kirk. Press conference was held just moments ago where they gave the law enforcement, including the FBI, gave information on what they have, what they don't have, what they're looking for. They're trying to get help from the public. Now, there's lots of breaking news, as I said, and I'll get into the details. But first, let me just tell you the latest on what they say. They said they found a high-capacity rifle. They found it in the woods behind the university. They believe the suspect ran through the woods, through a neighborhood behind the university. They don't believe that the university or the neighborhood is in danger. They found the rifle. They said they have a palm print. They would not say whether they had an identification of who's the owner of such weapon is. They also say that they believe it is a young person who blended in well with people on the campus. So yesterday there was talk about an older man that they had arrested. They did arrest someone after, turned out not to be the suspect. Okay, still the suspect is still on the loose. There is a manhunt for the person who killed Charlie Kirk. Here's the breaking news this morning. The President of the United States has just released a statement saying that he is going to give Charlie Kirk the Medal of Freedom. He's going to do it posthumously after he was shot to death in Utah at a school. The president also giving a press conference last night. I want to play it, some of it, and then we're going to talk about these things because this is a tough conversation. As we said yesterday, every single person who's on this program said yesterday, every single Democratic leader who has released a statement, most of the people I have spoken to, I've interviewed, I went out to talk to people after this happened. They said, I don't agree with him. Some of them said he was a horrible person. They didn't like his political views, but that he should not die. Charlie Kirk was no angel. Charlie Kirk said horrible things about Black women, about Black people, about George Floyd, about diversity, equity, and inclusion. He said racist, horrible things. He said sexist things about women, that they should go to the university to get an MRS, meaning a Mrs. degree, just to get married. And that's just a small portion. So today is going to be about, and this isn't about, nobody's taking glee in Charlie Kirk's death. As a matter of fact, the opposite. But we're going to play Charlie Kirk in his own words and let you decide. Some of you, many of you don't even know his statement. Some people don't. And we're going to play them for you. Okay? I believe the President of the United States, if he's going to address the nation or give a statement, it should be about gun violence and how we stop gun violence, not to make a hero out of Charlie Kirk. And if you're going to do it for Charlie Kirk, why don't you do it to the folks on the Democratic side or the folks who don't necessarily support you? Donald Trump doesn't care about any of that fairness here. He cares about what's politically expedient for him. That's my opinion. I'll have some guests on. They'll tell you their opinion. But here's the President of the United States, and then we'll get to our two guests. Here it is.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith. And we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is
Okay.
a dark moment for America.
Thank you. It is a dark moment for America. And yes, we pray. If you're a person of faith, you want to pray, especially for someone's soul. You want to pray for the folks who are left behind, the horrible tragedy it is for the loved ones. But again, Charlie Kirk had his own political beliefs, and many of those political beliefs were demonizing people and making them the other. Minorities, women, people who weren't part of the larger society. And so we have to be honest about who Charlie Kirk was without taking glee in the horrible tragedy that befell him yesterday in Utah. A manhunt, as I said, is going on. I'll give you some of the details, but right now I want to bring in Jolly, who's with us. He helms a Jolly Good Ginger Substack, and he is a Washington correspondent for the Don Lemon Show. And we are honored to have Pastor Sam Collier here. He is a faith leader, and he's a best-selling author, and perhaps he can help us make sense of this, because we want to be honest and true here. It's journalism, Reverend Pastor, but also, you know, we're walking. It's a tightrope here, and I'm sure you understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely. This is truly a dark day. I love that we've used and selected that particular word for this day, because it is a day of controversy. It is a day of extreme conflict. I want to first say thank you for having me on the show. I'm honored to be with you, and I'm honored to be able to have a voice during this time of mourning and hurt. Listen, anytime we are in a country that produces murder, after free speech has been exercised, we are in a dangerous place, not just for conservatives, but also for liberals. Dr. King died, one, so that we would be one, but also he produced a level of civil rights in this country by utilizing free speech. And that is what I believe is truly under attack today. But it is a conflicting time, because there were many things that our lost one, Charlie, that he said that did not necessarily honor the journey of Black Americans and or minorities. And so it's tough to hold this intention that we mourn the loss, a tragic death. We plead, and I would say this if I was in church on Sunday, the blood of Jesus over this man and over this nation. Yet and still, as Dr. King talked about, we don't want a negative peace, which is peace, absence of justice. And that is the tension I think we stand in today.
Jolly, you and I spoke yesterday, and we both understand that people are conflicted about this, and they have good reason to be conflicted. They have no reason to take glee or joy in anyone's demise, but there is good reason to be conflicted about Charlie Kirk, who he was, and his legacy.
Yeah, I agree. Before I want to respond to what you're saying, I also want to remind everybody today's September 11th. Over 3,000 people lost their lives 24 years ago, and Donald Trump hasn't made a single statement about that. About a month or so ago, two Congress people, state legislatures in Minnesota lost their life. Donald Trump couldn't even show up to their funeral. Children were killed in Colorado yesterday in another separate shooting, and Donald Trump hasn't made a statement about that. But when I listened to Donald Trump's statement that he did make, he didn't talk about, like you said, gun violence. He didn't talk about the person who is singularly responsible for this. He didn't say any words, hey, to the shooter, to the person responsible. He painted this glorious picture of Charlie Kirk, which you have already pointed out is not accurate. And then he talked specifically about the radical left. The way that he's using this for political expediency, the way that he's addressing the nation when he doesn't address it for many other serious topics, the way he conveniently ignores everything to go immediately after Charlie Kirk was great and the radical left did this As a trained interrogator, this is what I did for years. I believe in listening to the words that people say, and the words that he is saying is inciting more violence. The irony of him saying this is the result of people who demonize those who disagree with them, while being the guy who is most responsible for demonizing those who disagree with him, is the irony is so palpable it hurts. And so, yeah, I think it's important that we remember Charlie Kirk condoned this type of violence. Charlie Kirk said that gun deaths were necessary to maintain the Second Amendment. His words, not mine. Charlie Kirk said that, George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose when we all watched him be murdered on video. Charlie Kirk doesn't believe women should have the right to vote. Charlie Kirk doesn't even believe they should have reproductive rights. Charlie Kirk believes that trans people are expendable in this country. He was an absolutely hate-filled, dangerous radical. I don't condone what happened to him. Gun violence in this country is out of hand, and this is never the answer. And because of this one singular act of violence, now the rhetoric in this country, the temperature in this country has turned up, and it's dangerous. I myself have received, by my count that I've seen with my own eyes, 20 threats since yesterday, very pointed threats. We had some people come by our veteran tent at Union Station and tell us that we're responsible. Within 15 minutes of the shooting, told us that we're responsible. And one guy said, "I'll be back tonight." So this is where we are in our country now, because violence will always beget violence.
Yeah. And Pastor, I see, I'm shaking my head because, and we're going to show some examples of that. But since you mentioned it, Jolly, can you slide over your out of frame? Since you mentioned it, Jolly, we're going to talk about the Second Amendment, and we're going to play, again, this is Charlie Kirk in his own words. I'm not making any value judgment on it. I'll let you decide. Here's Charlie Kirk on the Second Amendment.
I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe. Sure. So then how do you reduce? Very simple. People say, "Oh, Charlie, how do you stop school shootings?" I don't know. How did we stop shootings at base?
Pastor, what do you say to that?
Dr. King did not carry firearms. And this was one of the things that he was criticized by. He did have security with him at times. But it is sad when we talk about this idea of gun violence here in America, and that gun violence was the very thing that took him out. And this is the tension, I think, that so many of us stand in today, and that I stand in, that there were many things that we see that were clearly said that actually perpetuated this death today. That again is not it's not a win for the left. It's not a win for America, but it is a clarion call and a time to wake up to say something truly does need to be done about gun violence in this country today, or we will continue to see not just school shootings, but shootings of our politicians that choose to exercise even what some may consider as radical views. It is just truly sad. It's truly sad.
Charlie Kirk speaking now about an African-American holiday in this country to celebrate slaves being freed, Juneteenth. Here he is.
Hey, everybody. A lot of people are going to be saying happy Juneteenth. It should not be a federal holiday, and I'm on my way to work. Have a good day.
There are different types of microaggression. There's micro assaults. Those can be like explicit but subtle actions.
Larger than that, Charlie.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Shank. I live as a capitalist, okay? I live when I believe.
Those micro insults.
About 2/3 of all black youth will be raised without a stable father around. And I know it's crazy, right?
Micro invalidations.
Say what? Say the what?
The N-word. I'm not going to say it on this public platform, but people say it to me all the time.
It derogatorily.
Yes.
No, I think you're lying.
Dismissals of the other. And it often negates the experiences of marginalized individuals.
Jolly?
I mean, again, I want to repeat what I said before. We know who Charlie Kirk is. Donald Trump and those on the right can do what they do best, and that is attempt to rewrite history right in front of our face. This isn't the first time they've done it. They do it over and over and over again. They don't pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. They're trying to paint Charlie Kirk as, and you heard Trump in his speech he gave, this is a Christian man. He's at peace with his maker now. This is just appealing to Christian nationalism is what it's doing. Charlie Kirk was a hate-filled man. Again, I can simultaneously tell you he's a hateful man and condemn the violence that killed him. And to the pastor's point, you said, when will we wake up? I want to remind everyone that this country did not wake up when over 20 kids were killed at Sandy Hook Elementary, when kids were murdered in mass in Uvalde, Texas, while 300 police officers stood outside using the hand sanitizer. This country hasn't woken up when kids die daily in school. And while I wish this country would wake up to the reality of gun violence, but it's not exactly breaking fucking news. Listen, the only people that need to wake the fuck up is the right. The same people that are saying that this is being incited violence by everyone else are the ones that protect the guns. We've been screaming, protect children, not guns, for how many years? Listen, I condemn this violence. This is not the answer. I'm a nonviolent, civil disobedient type of guy. I'm a veteran. I've seen what violence becomes, and I don't wish it on anyone. And I've spoken for peace for many years now. I'm well documented in that regard. This should never have happened. But let's quit pretending like now the right's going to wake up to the reality of gun violence. No, the right has already made their position clear. Their position is Charlie Kirk's a martyr and the radical left did it. This is not true. And they're painting this, picture of Charlie that's not true. So once again, we're in misinformation, disinformation, propaganda campaign from the right. That's what we need to address. What do we do about that?
And remember, Jolly, I never tell you what to do, but remember, we have a pastor in our presence.
What I do?
You said the F word about 8 times. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say one thing. Fred Hampton said profane times call profane language. So I do apologize, but I believe that this is a very profane time, and I need to use the accurate language to describe it.
Thank you, Jolly. Now, speaking of the bigotry and the racism, this is Charlie Kirk on some of the most high-profile and accomplished people of color, Black people in this country, if not the world. Here he is.
Yeah, that's the point, Simone Biles. You're representing your nation, you selfish sociopath. I just said she's probably the greatest gymnast of all time. She's also very selfish, she's immature, and she is a shame to the country.
LeBron James is a self-interested, narcissistic, and we know he's not very smart. LeBron James chronically cheats on his wife, obviously. He's an NBA player.
Because of DEI, it begs the question when you see a black pilot, you wonder, you say, I hope they are qualified. If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? It almost creates thought patterns that are not necessarily wholesome. Black America was getting richer, they were getting stronger, and families were largely still put together before the Great Society, Voting Rights Act, and Civil Rights Act. 60 years later, Black America is in a worse position. I'm not saying it's because of the Civil Rights Act. I'm not saying it's because of the Voting Rights Act, but somewhere something went awry. I can name at least a dozen people more deserving in the 20th century of a federal holiday than MLK. The reason we talk about race so much is because we have a federal holiday to a guy that talked about race all the time. We celebrate the Civil Rights Act more than the American founding.
We should not be laughing, but it is now you understand. I think people understand why there are why I shouldn't say those of us, why there are people, Americans, and I spoke to an African-American gentleman last night on the street, and I'm going to play that for you in just a moment, but why people are conflicted about this. Again, not that they're happy that the man what happened to the man, but they have trouble understanding why the president is in the Oval Office giving a speech about him, why he is ordering flags to be lowered at half staff and then half mast on ships. Why is he doing that? For someone who has spouted these kinds of beliefs. Go on, Pastor.
done, I just, I'm trying to keep it together, to be honest. I think as a Black American in this country, my father is 88, so he from the country, backwoods country, Georgia. When he walked to school, he had white kids spitting on him as he was headed to school. When Obama was elected the first time, he was bawling in his, in our home, because he just never thought he would see the day that would happen in America. And so the pain that so many of us feel, even that I feel, I'm trying to even keep tears back hearing some of these statements. I think you coined it. It is conflicting, because one of the things we want to make sure we don't become is the very thing that we say
fight against.
Yes. Yeah. And that is what led to this today. We don't know the shooter, but what led to this is that we allowed our hatred of certain statements in free speech to lead to violence. And so we want to be clear, as a pastor, I have to challenge us to not let the evil or the negativity or the pain we feel by some of these statements go so deep in our hearts that it comes out in action. And that is the issue here. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge the pain, and I'll just say this, ignorance of those statements. And while it's a very tough place to be here in America today. I'll stop there before I start crying, because the death and also the statements are, I didn't know you were going to do this. So amen. I'll just say amen.
Okay. I mean, if you are you uncomfortable doing this?
No, I'm fine. It's just very emotional.
Yes, it is. You're right. Well, we're going to play more. This is Charlie Kirk talking about attacking our Black Supreme Court justice and one of our most high-profile Black journalists, who happens to be a friend of mine. Here it is.
Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Play cut 52.
But I rise today as a clear recipient of affirmative action, and particularly in higher education. I may have been admitted on affirmative action, both in terms of being a woman and a woman of color, but I can declare that I did not graduate on affirmative action. This is my personal story.
I hear because of action affirmative. She can't even say that. We know. It's very obvious to us that you were not smart enough to be able to get in on your own. I couldn't make it on my own, so I needed to take opportunities from someone more deserving. This is how arrogant Joy Reid and Ketanji Brown Jackson and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee are. They're so narcissistic, they think this is persuasive. They think we're like, oh, of course. That's why we need affirmative action, because you have impressed us with your brilliance. Of course. Oh no, imagine the world without Joy Reid. Imagine the world without Sheila Jackson Lee or Michelle Obama or Ketanji Brown Jackson. They think this is persuasive. They think, as they kind of now reveal that I'm only here because of anti-white, anti-Asian forced discrimination policies. That turned me into a bitter, resentful activist that hates white people, honestly, through our policy.
Jolly, you can't contain yourself. Hard.
I definitely cannot. Let me first talk about how Charlie Kirk did not complete college. Charlie Kirk dropped out of college. Charlie Kirk wasn't the one that wasn't smart enough to complete college. And he's addressing Black women, which, by the way, is the single highest educated demographic in America. So Black women specifically have are the highest educated demographic in America. So how ironic that a guy who couldn't complete college is attacking the highest educated demographic in America. Why? Because he's jealous. Because he couldn't do what these black women could do. He couldn't accomplish a fucking third of what they accomplished. So he's on here, you know, trash talking them. This is what mediocre white men have done historically. When we see Donald Trump in the White House right now talking about how he's a martyr and he's a good guy, this is what white supremacy has done historically. Let's erase the black leadership in this country and let's elevate the white leaders. Our history books are nothing more than a romantic fiction novel where all the heroes just so happen to be white. That's America. This is America. What we're watching happen in real time is America. And you know why? Because we've never held white supremacy accountable in this country. That's who Charlie Kirk is. Charlie Kirk is a result of unfettered white supremacy and the unmitigated caucasity of mediocre white men.
Pastor, when you hear someone, and you heard Jolly's words, when you hear someone like Charlie Kirk say that about Ketanji Brown Jackson is brilliant. Joy Reid is as smart as a whip. I mean, she is one of the most knowledgeable people, even one of the highest rated TV anchors in the world. Rachel Maddow says, you know what? I'm going to miss Joy Reid because I learned something from her every single day. And Rachel Maddow is a Rhodes Scholar. I know Joy Reid. I'm telling you, Joy Reid is fucking brilliant. I'm sorry, Pastor. Sorry. It's brilliant. But, and for him to make these judgments about black women, Sheila Jackson Lee, who sadly is no longer with us, was an iconic congresswoman and a hero in the black community. When, as a black man, when you hear that, how does that make you feel? What do you think of that?
Yeah, you know, again, as the pastor on the show, I want to be clear to bring honor to the dead. However, one of the things I also want to say here, it speaks to a greater, and Jolly actually coined it, a greater condition of desperation for many of our white brothers and sisters that hold themselves to a certain level of conservative ideals. When you get to the point in which you feel as if your words are not working, you tend to go to extremes. When things are able to be picked apart, racist things and all of these things, you go to an act of desperation in which name calling begins, and this is why I encourage us not to become the thing we hate. This is the thing we have to be mindful of in this time, that we do not become what it is that we're looking at. And that happens when we go down a road of no empathy, of no understanding, of ignorance, all of these different things. But it is, and I just say it again, it is just truly ignorant. And it speaks to the condition of our country when we have our white brothers and sisters that refuse to engage. I'm not talking about all. Obviously, Jolly is here. Not all, but there are many that refuse to engage in conversations about equity and inclusion and diversity and racism. When they refuse to do it, what happens over time, it becomes politicized and it turns into something that is irrational.
Yeah. Pastor, I agree. Look, and as I said, this is a tightrope that we're walking because, as you said, we want to honor the dead. But I think it's important because a lot of people asked me yesterday on the street, they said, Don, you know, I've been seeing people like making this guy out to be Mother Teresa. I don't agree with him at all. I don't think he should be killed. I don't think that someone should shoot him. I don't think that he should die for his political beliefs or just his beliefs in general. But can you and the media, and I'm not saying that I did it, please not make this guy out to be the second coming of Christ, because he was not.
Yeah, it speaks to, and I'm sorry, it speaks to the idea of two gospels in America. It's just how we have two political parties that believe in the same Jesus, yet vote in different ways, and yet spur different things of hatred and so on and so forth. We're not looking at the same Christ, and I think that's one of the things that we are seeing today.
Yeah, because white America, you know, they don't. They have.
Hey,
They
Jolly,
worship.
can you,
Yes,
Jolly, can you hold on? Can you hold that thought, please? Because you
I
know what I have
can.
to do. Can you
Yeah,
hold
you
that
got
thought?
to be
Okay.
responsive.
Pastor, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us this morning, and we'll see you soon back here on the Don Lemon Show. Okay, thank you so much. So I'm so glad that the pastor joined us to bring some, light as to how to deal with these issues, especially if you're a person of faith, if you're a person who's empathetic, if you are a real human being that cares about other people. Now, Charlie Kirk did, have a few things to say about empathy. Producers, just make sure we have that clip of him. It's everywhere. And we're playing his words. This is who is Charlie Kirk. This is what we're doing. Okay. So if you will indulge me, I need 2 minutes because we are independent media. And this is how we stay viable in the streets, is by hearing a word from our sponsors. Support comes from Beam. Summer's almost over, but I want to be honest, life hasn't slowed down. As you know, you saw the headlines. They just keep coming. The noise gets louder, and every day, someone is trying to distract us. They're trying to divide us or just wear us down. That's not an accident. Burnout is the goal, and we're exhausted, and we're easier to control when we're exhausted. But rest, that's resistance. That's why I use Beam's Dream Powder. It's a natural sleep blend with ingredients like reishi, magnesium L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. It helps you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up clear-headed without the grogginess or the crash. Now, since I started using it, I felt sharper, more grounded, and ready to show up for the day ahead. And I'm not alone. Beam's Dream Powder has improved over 17.5 million nights of sleep all across the country. Oh, and it tastes incredible. It's smooth, it's delicious, easy to add to your nightly routine. So right now, Beam is offering up to 40% off their best-selling Dream Powder to my listeners. Go to shopbeam.com/lemon and use the code LEMON. That's shopbeam.com/lemon for up to 40% off. I want you to sleep well, wake up ready. The fight continues. Support comes from MSI United States. Now, I read something the other day that stopped me cold. The Trump administration is destroying $10 million worth of contraception. Contraception paid for by us, the taxpayers. Now, meanwhile, 257 million women worldwide want contraception, but they can't get it because they're poor, they're young, or they live in remote areas. When women don't have access to contraception, we see more unplanned pregnancies, more unsafe abortions. In many countries, pregnancy is still the #1 killer of young women. MSI Reproductive Choices is changing that. For just $6.50, you can provide a woman with a year of contraception. For $65, you can help 10 women take control of their lives, stay in school, and build healthier families. So please, text my last name, Lemon, to 511-511 or go to msius.org. That's msius.org at msiunitedstates.org. M for modern, S is in safe, I for united. Give today. Make a life-changing difference. So we're trying to make a difference, and the reason that I ran those is because I thought they were appropriate for today. So thank you. And now back to the program. Jolly's here. So Jolly, again, we are, I'm a journalist, you're an influencer, but we believe in truth and facts. And so while we're not here to say we're happy that Charlie Kirk is dead, no, but we are here to show you who Charlie Kirk was and whether it was appropriate for the president of the United States to sit in the Oval Office and say that he's going to, he ordered flags at half staff, and now saying that he's going to give him posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And folks are crying for empathy. Folks are saying, have some empathy for Charlie Kirk and for his family. This is what Charlie Kirk, again, this is Charlie Kirk in his own words. This is what he said about empathy.
I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage, but
there's a longer one than that. But what do you think? I mean, you're muted, Jolly.
My bad.
His own words come back really to tell you who he is.
This is my point. Okay, you said you're a journalist and I'm an influencer. No, I'm a father. No, I'm I'm a father of 5 children.
Yeah.
I'm a veteran of this country. I'm an American citizen.
Oh, can I ask you? I want you to hold that thought, and you can do it now or later. I want to know how you feel as a veteran with him getting that award. But go on. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no problem. But I just want to say that part of being a father is raising children in a country that seems to not know how to move forward. We keep going backwards. We continue this perpetual cycle of rewriting history, changing facts. The misinformation, disinformation, propaganda machine were just are just churning out this stuff in real time, and you have all the receipts. You're playing the receipts right here of who Charlie Kirk definitely was. Charlie Kirk, if you watch him, he takes pride in these shock jock takes that he puts out or put out, and he does that because he knows that he's going to elicit emotion. Yeah, right. He knows that. He knows he's going to elicit emotional response out of people. He knows what he's saying is hateful and attacks marginalized communities. He knows that and takes pride in that. So any rewriting of that is just another example of how this country cannot seem to hold white supremacy accountable. Like you said, how do I feel as a veteran, him given the Presidential Medal of Freedom? It was already given to Rush Limbaugh. Is there really any value left in such a medal? Once you devalue things like that, is there value left in them? Again, I want to point out, Donald Trump is trying to make him a martyr. He said the word martyr in his little speech, and he's making this out to be a leftist. Don, we don't even know who did it yet. So how are we already talking about? Yeah, so how are we already talking about? And I won't talk to it right now, but how are we already talking about this is a radical left issue? This is number one, a way to try to accelerate violence in this country, because number two, the Epstein files left a crack in MAGA's armor, and they're losing political capital. The American people have been standing up against what's happening. We are taken to the streets. We're protesting and we're speaking out. We're not buying it. This nonviolent civil disobedience has been working across the country. And Donald Trump and all those on the right know that their plan is failing, and that we're not going to sit back and let them rig the 2026 election. We're not going to let them gerrymander. We're going to fight fire with fire and gerrymander in blue states. And all these things are happening, and they're losing their political capital. So this has given them the opportunity to accelerate violence in this country as a way to maintain the power that they feel that they're losing.
Charlie Kirk on white privilege and testosterone.
Racist myth that is rooted in bigotry, trying to classify people based on their skin color. If you are a racist, you have something to apologize for. If you're a white person who is not a racist, you have nothing to apologize for.
I do think that there is a direct correlation between someone's testosterone and their politics. I would love to have a study done on this. On young men, the lower their testosterone, the more likely they are to be Democratic. Well, free speech is our birthright as Americans. When you have free speech, we're going to get closer to the truth, closer to the best way to govern, closer to the best polity for the country.
The influence of DEI have actually inverted the piety away from the promise of what MLK said.
And that was him yesterday at the rally. Just real quick, producers, I don't know if we played it in the pre-show, or then did we play what he said about George Floyd? Yeah, have we played that?
No, we haven't played it yet.
We haven't. Okay, so we'll do that next. So there's no white privilege. Charlie Kirk reminded me a little bit of Candace Owens. Do you know what I mean? Talk fast, but doesn't. But you're like, well, I'm not sure of what you're saying, but just fast talkers.
Well, Candace Owens used to be with Turning Point USA. And so that's their brand. And it's funny that in the beginning of that clip you just played, he said white privilege is just something to classify people by race, which is conveniently overlooking that the white race was created right here in the good old US of A in 1676 after Bacon's Rebellion as a way to prevent poor people from uprising against the rich aristocrats. So they separated poor people by race by convincing white people, which is a race they made up, that you might be poor, but at least you ain't black. So stop joining the black population as a way to uprise against us rich people, because you too can be like us one day if you just work hard. And from 1676 to 1776 to 2025, this very racist ideology in America has continued through that classification of the white race. So this is what I find so ironic about Kirk and all these people. They literally conveniently spin history. Like he brought up affirmative action earlier when attacking black women, while conveniently overlooking the fact that the reason that existed was because they didn't allow black people into universities before that. We conveniently overlooked the reason that it was white people's inability to accept non-white people that required it. So then to spin that and say that it excludes white people is professional level gaslighting.
You know, white is not a race, right? I mean,
that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, white is not a race. It was something that was invented here in America, yes. And also black is not a race. Both of them are a collective here in the United States of white people. You may be European American, you could be Irish American, you can be Italian American, you can be all kinds of things that people put in this white category. It's just like either you're African American or Jamaican American. Just so you know, I understand these are collectives that I invented here in the United States just to, I guess, to to put people to define people or put them in a box, and perhaps sometimes to minimize and sometimes to maximize their influence on culture in the country.
No, it was specifically for money, Don.
Yeah.
The poor people were uprising against rich aristocrats when this was still a British colony, when they were colonizing the indigenous lands. And so to keep that from happening, to protect their money, they made this white race concept. And then black people in this country were used as free labor and cheap labor and for capital gain. This is all about greed and white supremacy, and it always has been. And then they spin this, just like Donald Trump's doing right now in real time. They are spinning this like now again it's the white man who's the victim of it all. In reality, once again, we don't even know who did it or what his motivation was.
Mm-hmm. Well, why don't we get to that, because you mentioned it. Before, I just want one more. On Charlie Kirk, and then we'll talk about we'll get to the we don't even know who it was. This is him on gay schizophrenic Paul Pelosi attacker.
Sorry, Don, trying to find it.
Okay. Well, we'll wait. Anyways, the whole point of this is that on the right, as we were discussing in our editorial meeting this morning, with the right seems to think that any person who's left wing and who's attacked, it's a false flag. It's someone pretending to be on the right when they're not necessarily on the right. It's just the left trying to make the right look bad. And these particular situations where it's a conservative who was the victim, of course, it's immediately on the left. And so when someone attacked Paul Pelosi in his home, they had to make it out to be everything except for a right-wing person who hated Nancy Pelosi and was out to do harm to her or her family. It had to be some sort of gay attack, that it was his boyfriend, and on and on. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. This is what they do. It has to, and they do this. They create this image of what is the left. And this is what I said yesterday, Don, and I'm glad you brought this up, because I really want the opportunity to repeat something I said on a video yesterday. When this
let me play this. Let me play this, and then you can say
okay. Okay. I got to remember.
I mean, I'm looking at Politico.com. I'm looking at the New York Times. I'm looking at all these places, and there's a little bit of mention here. For example, Politico says top Republicans reject any link between GOP rhetoric and Paul Pelosi assault.
Of course you should reject any link. Why is the Republican Party, why is the conservative movement to blame for gay schizophrenic nudists that are hemp jewelry makers breaking into somebody's home, or maybe not breaking into somebody's home? Why are we to blame for that exactly? And why is he still in jail? Why has he not been bailed out? By the way, if some amazing patriot out there in San Francisco or the Bay Area wants to really be a midterm hero, someone should go and bail this guy out. I bet his bail's like 30 or 40,000 bucks. Bail him out and then go ask him some questions.
Anyway, Jolly, Peach is upset that I interrupt you. Can you? Jolly and our friends, chill out. Go on. Go ahead, Jolly.
Plus, we're gonna, got to keep the show moving. And I appreciate that. Well, I'll say two things. First of all, to what he just said, why should the GOP be responsible for this? Oh, by the way, go bail him out. Like, which is it, bro? But what I was going to say was, when this type of violence that happened yesterday, when one person takes it in their hands to use violence as an answer, then what happens is the temperature gets turned up in the country and violence becomes, higher. And every single time in America, when that happens, the communities that are most at danger are marginalized communities. People that look like me are less in danger. Here's why. It's exactly what you were just saying a moment ago. And that is that what they do on the right is they paint this picture of what the left is. The left is lesbian, gay, queer, trans. The left is black. The left is brown. If you look like me and you don't know my political ideology, I'm Republican coded. You're going to assume that I'm one of your Republican allies, and I'm in less danger in this heightened violent environment that was now created by this act of violence. This is why I condemn violence. When we condone violence, when violence becomes the answer and not non-violent civil disobedience and conversation, then all we do is further marginalize and further endanger communities that are already being marginalized by the very white supremacy that created it all. This is my point. So, notice how he said gay, schizophrenic, but these are dog whistles. Hey, this is what the left is. The left is a bunch of gay, trans, black, brown, queer. That's what they do. And if you believe that long enough, then anybody you believe to be in one of those categories is now your enemy. They're making this us versus them thing. And us that they're talking about is cishet white men.
So, Republican officials and influencers are trying to say that Democrats have declared war on the right. Now, I just want to give you some facts. The man who targeted and killed Democratic Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman, a Trump supporter. The man who targeted the home of Democratic Governor Josh Shapiro was a Trump supporter. The men who wanted to hang Mike Pence on January 6th, Trump supporters. The man who targeted and killed the son of Obama-appointed District Judge Esther Salas was a Trump supporter. The man who tried to kidnap Nancy Pelosi and assault her husband was a Trump supporter. The men who were convicted trying to kidnap Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Trump supporters. The man who sent pipe bombs to the homes of Obama and Biden, a Trump supporter. There is no equivalent of even a similar list of Obama or Biden supporters who have carried out similar murders, attempted murders, and violent attacks. And this we have just in. Put it up for the folks now. So what it says is between 2013 and 2022, right-wingers committed the vast majority of political murders, 75%. The source is the Anti-Defamation League. Jolly. The source is the Anti-Defamation League. Wait till you hear what Republicans and Republican influencers are saying about this without even knowing, as Jolly said, the motivation, who the person is, what they've done, nothing. But Jolly, we're going to hear from them and we're going to hear from you. I need 2 minutes. A word from our sponsors. Support comes from Wild Alaskan Company. Now, when was the last time that you truly trusted the seafood you brought home? And I used to question everything. Nutrition, taste, sustainability, until I found Wild Alaskan Company. Their seafood is 100% wild caught. It's never farmed, No antibiotics, no GMOs, no additives, just clean, real fish packed with omega-3s, frozen right off the boat, so the freshness is locked right in. So I personally love their sockeye salmon. I say it all the time, rich flavor, great texture, and I know it supports sustainable fishing practices. And you can try it risk-free. If you're not completely satisfied, they're going to give you a full refund. So get $35 off of your first box of premium wild-caught seafood at wildalaskan.com/lemon. That's wildalaskan.com/lemon. I want you to eat better, support healthy oceans. Support comes from Shopify. Now, this show started as just a dream, and Shopify turned that dream into a business. Starting your own thing can feel really overwhelming. So what if I can't design a website? What if I can't do it alone? Shopify makes it simple for you. It powers millions of businesses worldwide, 10% of all US e-commerce. Now, they've got beautiful templates, AI tools for product images and descriptions, and built-in marketing support.
Can you guys hear me? I cannot hear you at all.
So here at the Don Lemon Show, we use Shopify for our own merch. And if you ever get stuck or ever gotten stuck, they have this 24/7 award-winning customer support that's always there. It's going to help you out, all right? So turn those what ifs into ka-ching.
Yes.
Sign up for a $1
Jolly,
per month.
if you can, I can't really hear anything. Can you take over the show for a little bit?
Shopify.com/lemon. You can start your dream today. You can start.
I want you guys to start by playing some of the conservatives, lawmakers, and what they're saying. Okay, I'm going to reload.
All right, we're back.
Yeah, and it was a bit of a hot mic there. I don't think Don knew that everybody could hear him, but we heard you, Don. And so we're going to play some clips of some lawmakers and what they had to say about this without, by the way, without even knowing the identity of the shooter or even the motivation of the shooter. They immediately went to what you're about to see, and it's disgusting.
Here is Jesse Waters.
Trump gets hit in the ear. Charlie gets shot dead. They came after Kavanaugh with a rifle to his neighborhood. They went after Musk's cars. They just shot 2 Jews outside the embassy. Think about it. Scalise got shot, barely survived. It's happening. You got trans shooters. You got riots in LA. They are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us. And what are we going to do about it? How much political violence are we going to tolerate? And that's the question we're just going to have to ask ourselves. Now, Charlie would want us to put as much pressure on these people as possible. Dana nailed it. This is unacceptable and has to stop. And it has to stop now. And everybody's accountable. And we're watching what they're saying on television and who's saying what. The politicians, the media, and all of these rats out there. This can never happen again. It ends now. Greg's right again. This is a turning point, and we know which direction we're going.
Jolly, that's dangerous.
It's first of all, let's be clear. Trump didn't get shot in the ear. Second of all, the person that was shot by the Secret Service sniper at that Butler event was identified as a conservative. So this idea that the left did it is just, once again, in real time, rewriting history. Secondly, for the 13th time, we don't know who did this, so how can we label it the left? But they don't care. Like he said, this is a turning point. And you know which way we're heading. No, this is the way you've always been heading. We didn't hold the Confederate States of America accountable after the Civil War. They've been looking for another Civil War for 100 and something odd years. This is the violence that the right incites continually. And I thought, by the way, you're about to play Nancy Mace, who is a lawmaker.
She's next. Yeah,
who is an elected official. And it's gross what they're advocating for. It's more than dangerous, Don. With this type of environment, it's a real life threat.
Let's hear from Nancy Mace now, who Jolly mentioned.
I'm going to say this. Democrats own what happened today. I am devastated. My kids have called panicking. They probably all the kids of every conservative in the country called panicking. Just because you speak your mind on an issue doesn't mean you get shot.
Then, by that logic, do Republicans own the shooting of the 2 Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota?
Political.
Isn't this on both sides?
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm asking.
We
a
don't
serious
know what
question.
condition Charlie Kirk is in right now. Some raging leftist lunatic put a bullet through his neck, and you want to talk about Republicans right now? No.
No, I'm asking
no, not
you.
at all.
You said the Democrats
this
have to own
is
it too,
on.
but I'm asking,
Democrats own this.
But isn't there a problem
this.
with political violence across the spectrum?
Yeah, we're talking about Charlie Kirk right now. That's the subject of this that we're talking about right now. Democrats own this 100%.
Is Nancy Mace okay?
No, Nancy Mace's never been okay. First of all, how long did it take her to answer the phone call of every conservative in America? That had to be a fucking long session. If every conservative in America called her. Like, this is what I mean by the just ridiculous, hyperbolic, just absolute political theater. Like, come on. And again, how does she know it was a radical leftist lunatic? And to the guy that was challenging her position, I mean, kudos for trying to challenge the position. But when you say, well, isn't this on both sides? You're actually giving some credence to the bullshit she's saying. No, it's not on both sides. I have yet to hear the left call for or incite violence. Literally, you just played Jesse Waters. I can play you 100 other videos from MAGA creators and influencers here on social media saying this is war with the left. This is war with the left. This is a call for war. You won't find that on the left. We're not doing that. In fact, as soon as this happened, within 15 minutes or actually 5 minutes of the shot happening, I had a video up saying, I condemn this type of violence. This type of violence is not the solution. It only will lead to more violence. But then within those same 5 minutes, I had somebody walk past my veteran tent and tell us that we're the ones that fall and we're responsible for the shot being fired. So the difference between the left and right couldn't be any more clear in this regard. So I'm tired of this both sides rhetoric.
Here is, we saw Jesse Waters, but I'm concerned about this whole thing that we're at war. When you have some of the biggest, as you said, influencers, Jesse Waters, not a journalist, I guess he's an influencer. I don't know. Steve Bannon, not a journalist, I guess an influencer or no, political apparatchik. And Alex Jones, who I don't even know how to describe him. This is what they're saying.
We're in a war. The left has been saying put a bullseye on Trump, a bullseye on his supporters.
Charlie Kirk's a casualty of war. We're in this country. We are.
They are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us. And what are we going to do about it?
You know, that's what they wanted forever, right? Like, this is what the right wants. These amosexuals have been having this, you know, like fever dream of a civil war since forever. Every time you bring up the Second Amendment, they tell you about this Rambo scenario they created in their head where they're going to go save people with their gun. They're not, and they have it. And less than 6% of shootings have ever been stopped by a guy with a gun. But they have this fever dream of my gun and overthrowing tyranny, and like they are just so obsessed with this that this is their opportunity to bring to fruition their weird, like, utopia of civil war. It's weird.
It's more than weird, Jolly. Now, Jolly, what you and I both do, we do some things very similar. We like to talk to the people. Am I right? Because that's where you find out exactly what is happening and what's going on. So I went out and I spoke to some folks. This is the first one I want to play is a black man who I thought was very nuanced in what he said about Charlie Kirk. And I want to see if you agree with him. This is probably one of the most popular, the most clicked upon man on the street that I did after Charlie Kirk's death last night. Here it is. Do you know Charlie Kirk?
Yeah, I do.
And what do you think of what happened to him?
You know, sometimes revenge is a dish best served cold. I hate to celebrate someone's death, but when you talk about guns rights and you talk about how much the Second Amendment matters to you and it impacts you, like, what do you expect, you know? Sympathies to his family, but this is why we need gun control.
One of my friends said on social media, he died in a world that he wanted.
Yeah, he said it himself, right? There's a whole quote that's been floating around about, like, sacrifices were made for the Second Amendment to still exist, or something along those lines, right? It's an ad-lib, but yeah, this is what happens. You reap what you sow, and you know, it's sad that someone died, but also, hey, you know.
What do you say to people who might say that you're unsympathetic and you need to be more human about it?
I don't know. Reread slavery, rewatch Roots. There are so many different eras of American history and in America where worse things have happened to people. And, you know, and we've turned a blind eye. You want us to erase the Confederacy. You want us to erase all these different things. But why should I have more sympathy with someone that you don't know pain, really? This is the worst thing you could think of. You don't understand what other people have gone through.
Do you think that this will make a difference with getting people to actually sit down and talk about some sensible gun laws?
No, unfortunately not. You know, it's going to galvanize the right. You know, they're going to place it on some like leftist extremist or something like that, and the conversations that need to be had won't be had.
Someone on Fox News said, I think it was Jesse Waters, said that we're at war with them or they're at war with us, meaning liberals.
Yeah.
You think there's going to be retribution for this? Are you concerned about that?
Politically, I think what we see happening in D.C. and what the threats that the president's making in Chicago are a prelude to something that could be worse, you know? Think about like 1984 with the thought police. You know, this is the era where we're coming in where they're censoring what you can say on social media. They're, you know, certain hashtags are immediately flagged. You know, there's going to be a reckoning. Hopefully it won't be a violent one, but it'll be a political one, I think.
People aren't stupid, Jolly.
No, first of all, I will not tone police this gentleman's response to Charlie Kirk's death. As a white man in America, I have no place to agree or disagree on this gentleman's feelings towards this, as he was directly affected by Charlie Kirk's rhetoric and hate that he spread. So I'm not here to either agree or disagree. What I will say is this. He's pointing out a couple things that people need to recognize, and that is that it was Charlie Kirk and those like him that create this environment of violence and hate. And we're watching it happen now. You just played Steve Bannon, and you just played, what's his name? The other guy, who are saying, we're at war. Alex Jones, we're at war. And so once again, who's creating this violent rhetoric? The right. Already right away, straight out the fucking gate. And so like the gentleman just said in the clip you played, you know, it's coming to a reckoning that they're creating.
I wonder what it's, you know, I have heard, Jolly, every single Democrat I've heard has said, this is awful. It shouldn't happen. I don't believe in violence. And yet on the right, they're like, we're at war. We're going to get them. We're blaming Democrats. It's the libs. I mean, it shows you just how different the Democrats and the Republicans are. And, you know, I don't know if it's the Republicans or just that, you know, they have more of a fighting spirit. And I don't mean that positive, or they're more aggressive. They're more angry. I don't know. But it's kind of sad to me. Look at this. Look at the MAGA tweets. Okay. We just wanted to show some of the MAGA tweets here that have been, that people have. Look at these. This is war. The Democrat Party must be classified as a domestic terror organization and their members, leaders treated accordingly. Enough is enough. Charlie Kirk getting shot is the shot heard around the country. I'm ready for civil war. They've declared war. There's no going back after this. There's no more words to be said. The only way this ends is a complete annihilation of the Democrat Party. Jolly, that's fucked up, man.
Yeah, and it's what they want. Like I told you, well before this incident, they've been foaming at the mouth for something to give them this opportunity to live out this revolutionary fever dream they've had of, you know, taking the country back. And like I said, they're ammosexuals, man. They have this relationship with violence, and this relationship and this, you know, adoration of violence, and this romantic view of war, that they want it. They want this to happen. This is just their opportunity to make it a reality. That's all this is. It needs to be recognized for what it is. It needs to be recognized that You know, this was always going to be what it came to if we didn't hold white supremacy accountable. This is always what it was going to come to if we didn't hold their misinformation, disinformation, and rhetoric accountable. We let them say whatever they want, and then we let them police what everybody else says, and then wonder how we got here. This is what they've wanted. They've wanted the temperature to be turned up. They've wanted an excuse to say exactly what you just read them saying. And meanwhile, I still condemn the violence because that's what they want. And listen, you know, Charlie Kirk shouldn't have died. He shouldn't have been shot. This is absolutely, I shouldn't, this is common sense. I shouldn't have to say that. That should be the accepted view from everybody. But we're over here arguing about what to say. What to say is simple. You don't shoot people. You don't resort to violence. Violence begets violence. And only one side of this argument is calling for violence. I ask you this, Don. Throughout history, where has all the violence seemed to come from?
What do you mean throughout history? You mean white men?
Throughout American history. Yeah, we know the answer.
I said white men.
Right. So this is my point. And it's never been held accountable. It's never been put in check. And so this is what they want. We can't rationalize it because it's not rational. To people like you and I, to people who have a moral compass, to people who have an iota of ethical, beliefs in their body, you can't justify. There's no way that I can sit here as a father of 5 and say, I want civil war, as these people that you just read their tweets from are saying. How could you want that in your country? How could you want that in your community? How can you hate your fellow Americans so much that you're looking for a reason to go engage with them in violence and war? What the hell is wrong with people?
This is a MAGA TikToker, just so you can hear what's happening.
Here we go.
In regards to Charlie Kirk. This video's in regards to Charlie Kirk. And this video's for the fucking liberals. It's war, motherfuckers. We're coming for you. We're coming for you. And spare me your fucking self-righteous bullshit lectures. I don't give a fuck. We're coming for you.
Last night, there's another TikToker named Good Trouble.
I like Good Trouble.
Yeah, would have liked to have him on this morning, but he's 3 hours behind us. But he was live. He goes live every night. And he invited a guest up into the guest box. And the guest immediately said, well, I hope nothing happens to Jolly Good Ginger. This is exactly what he said. On live in front of about 3,000 people. With about 20 text messages from friends and associates of mine of screenshots of people, well, I hope nothing happened to Jolly. This is because of Jolly. People like Jolly. They screenshot it because my name was specifically mentioned. I'm not the only one that they're mentioning all of us. They're targeting the left. This is what they want. And again, are we doing that? Have we ever done that? No.
Yeah. I'm not even going to mention myself, so I'll just stay out of this for the moment. But there are people who are not happy that I actually went out on the streets yesterday, and I understand. I understand why. I mean, I know that you guys are just looking out for me. I ran into, on the streets, a MAGA supporter last night, and here's what she said. Do you know who Charlie Kirk is?
Yes, of course.
And did you hear what happened?
Of course.
What do you think?
I think it's devastating. I think that this violence on this so-called tolerant left has to stop. I think that it is a tremendous loss to the MAGA movement. No matter what side of the political aisle you're on, I think it's absolutely devastating. This was a political assassination.
Are you a conservative?
I am a conservative.
Are you MAGA?
I am MAGA.
Why do you think it's a loss, a tremendous loss for the MAGA community?
Because I think there's several reasons that President Trump won the election, and I think that Charlie Kirk is a major part of that reason. He handed President Trump the youth vote.
Youth male vote, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of conservative women that also follow Charlie Kirk. I mean, they're kind of out of my age demographic, but I think that Charlie Kirk was instrumental in handing that victory to President Trump.
Do you agree with all of his views?
No, I did not. We never agree 100%.
Someone played a clip for me today of Jesse Waters on Fox saying, either we're at war with them or they're at war with us, meaning liberals. I worry about retribution. I don't want that.
Yes, I don't want that either. And I think that we need to stop with this rhetoric of being at war with one another. I think that we really do need to truly unite. I think we all really want the same. We want, freedom. We want a better life for our children. We want to do, better than our parents. We all really want that American dream.
What do you think, Jolly?
I think she started off by saying this is a political assassination from the so-called tolerant left. And then the other side of her mouth said, we need to stop with this rhetoric. Yeah, you do need to stop with the rhetoric, lady. You're right. Because once again, we don't know who the shooter is. Once again, we don't know what the motivation of the shooter is. Once again, this could be a guy with some personal vendetta against Charlie Kirk that has fuck all to do with politics. This could be anything. We don't know. But I tell you one thing. Well, I tell you what we do know is that this was clearly well thought out. The way that this guy was able to get away, he must have had ice in his veins, because after taking that shot, he apparently just blended in with the crowd and dipped out without even being noticed. And he did it efficiently. He did it effectively. This is concerning. Like, who is this guy, and how did he plan this out and do it so quickly, and one shot and gone? And this should worry everybody, but we don't know who it is. So how can we call this a leftist agenda political assassination? And I'll say this now: if once we do find out it was some leftist or somebody who did it because they disagree with Charlie Kirk's views, then I, along with every other leftist I know, will condemn them and condemn their actions, because that's the difference between us and them. I'm not married to somebody just because we share some similar ideologies. By shooting Charlie Kirk, all you did was put more people in danger, put marginalized communities in danger, raise the temperature in this country, and give the right exactly what they want. So I don't care if it comes out to be somebody who has all the other same political ideologies and social ideologies I have. I condemn what the fuck they did.
Yeah. Donald Trump gave that speech last night, and we played it at the beginning of the show. But I just want to, I want you to get some of the tone here and the difference between the two leaders. I'm just going to play, let's just pop in on what Donald Trump said last night. And if we can get to the part where he talks about, past the part where he talks about Charlie Kirk, and he starts to talk about what he's going to do or what we need to do with America.
The left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans.
Okay. And do we have Biden, Andy?
Yes.
So we can show the difference. A real president. Here it is.
Fellow Americans.
This is after Donald Trump was shot, by the way, or as Jolly doesn't believe it. But anyways, this is after that incident in Butler, Pennsylvania.
For us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors. We're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're fellow Americans. We must stand together. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back, take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured. I spoke with him last night. I'm grateful. He's doing well, and Jill and I keep him and his family in our prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victims who was killed. Corey was a husband, a father, a volunteer firefighter, a hero, sheltering his family from those bullets. We should all hold his family and all those injured in our prayers.
Okay,
Earlier
so that's
today-
enough. So listen, now he did not blame, even though the guy, wasn't that a Trump supporter, right? He had voted for Trump. He did not blame the radical right. That's the difference.
You know what's a better comparison, Don? I like that you compared those two. That was good. I'm glad. Can you now play the address that he made after the 2 Minnesota state legislators were shot? So we can
No, you
compare
can't
that.
because there isn't one.
Oh, what about the address he made for the children that were shot in school yesterday?
There's not one.
So it's hard to compare. So like this is just political theater. This is what he does, and it's very clear what his goals are. We need to. This is us saying that this is him trying to incite political violence. Isn't us then just being political? It isn't us just being hyperbolic. This is actually what he's doing. Like you pointed out, Biden didn't say, "Oh, it was radical right and this and that, and this is all the right's fault." He just said, "We're neighbors. Let's turn the temperature down." He's right. That's what leadership looks like. And by the way, I wasn't a big Biden fan, but that's okay. I can acknowledge that was good leadership. This isn't hard.
Hang on one second. I just want to know. Well, I want to hear from some influencers because people are conflicted, and you can understand why people are conflicted. I want to hear from Walter Masterson. I haven't seen it, but it is in our list of things that we have. Let's hear from Walter.
Sorry, looking for that one.
All right. And then there's another one too afterwards. Do you have the other?
Yes, I have the other.
Okay. This is both of these. And then some of the language, but I like this guy.
I'm damn near shaking now. I'm physically. I normally take the time to sift through my thoughts and emotions before I post stuff. You know what I mean? But I kind of do want to capture this in the moment because I feel like the emotions I'm trying to sift through right now, a lot of other Americans and other people are currently dealing with the same emotions because I know I'm a good person, right? I know I'm a good person, right? Or at least we tell ourselves we're good people, and if we genuinely mean it, we try to do things on a daily basis that a good person would do, right? And if we have anything in our past that isn't in line with that, then we spend every day going forward trying to be in line with being a good person, right? I know I'm a good person, right? So then I'm sitting here asking myself, why do I have these emotions with Charlie Kirk getting murdered and stuff, right? I'm a good person. The children lost their father. It's sad. It's murder. You know what I'm saying? But I'm conflicted right now. How am I supposed to feel bad, right? I want to be a good person. A good person would feel bad and offer thoughts and prayers and sympathy and condolences about the news of Charlie Kirk being shot and killed today. A good person would do all these things, but I can't bring myself to fucking do that. I can't do it. I want to be sad. I'm not, if I'm being real about it. Because I know that the man that Charlie Kirk was would look at a black father who lost his life to police brutality and injustice, and he would say, that's just the cop doing their fucking job. Charlie Kirk advocates for the party that said empathy is a weakness. Charlie Kirk said that empathy is this new woke idea that leads to weakness, or whatever the exact quote was. And somehow I'm supposed to muster up empathy and sympathy for the guy that said empathy was a weakness? Donald Trump is in the fucking Epstein files. Charlie Kirk was lying and riding for him the whole fucking time. Human trafficking of women that they lie to you about to this day. But at this very moment in time, MAGA is coming for the left. And those cheering at what happened, I'm not cheering about it. But I'm not readily sad either. But MAGA is going after the people on the left that are cheering about it. and saying the bullshit, how could you do this? Where's your heart? Where's your humanity? Where is yours?
Thank you.
We're
Jolly?
Hey, he's telling you how he feels. I've been saying since yesterday, I'm not here to police how anybody feels. I mean, I'm in my videos. I said I condemn violence. You didn't hear me say, thoughts and prayers. You didn't hear me say condolences. You didn't hear me say that because, like I said in my video yesterday, I'll let Charlie Kirk's words speak for themselves, and I played his words, which were he thinks that there needs to be some gun deaths every year for the Second Amendment to be possible to protect our other rights. So, I don't have to speak on it because Charlie Kirk spoke on it for himself. I'll condemn the violence, but that's where I stopped. And for this gentleman that you just played, that's his thoughts. And he's allowed to have them and they're valid.
One more. This is Walter Masterson.
We're at a very real moment where we could have a real conversation about gun violence, gun control, access to mental health care, expanding access to mental health care. If you support Charlie Kirk, are you going to have that conversation, or are you going to scapegoat trans mass shooters, immigrants, the radical left, that stuff, right? The choice is yours. Just for the record, I've been putting my body in harm's way for years. There's videos of me going up to people that don't like me and calling them out and mocking them, all nonviolently. You will not find a video of me raising my hands towards someone. My hands have stayed, at my waist. Even as I've been shoved, pushed, punched in the head. To call us the radical left, try again. This is very absurd. I've always been aware that what happened to Charlie Kirk could happen to me any day, given how public I am, given where I go. That was very chilling to watch that. Not because I like him. I don't like him at all. I don't care about him. He's shown zero sympathy towards anyone else. I do worry that MAGA is going to use this to justify more violence. The government has been bearing down on citizens, and they're going to use that as an excuse for more violence. Like I said, there's a real conversation to be had with regards to access to mental health care, gun violence, all of that. Are you going to have that, or are you going to do the trans mass shooters, immigrants, gender ideology? It's the radical left once again nonsense. It's up to you.
Yeah, it is. And that's the whole reason. One of the reasons I'm doing this today, Jolly, and one of the reasons I had you on, I saw you last night and how your son responded to this, your 15-year-old son. And I just thought that the way that you were approaching it, you were doing it right. You weren't, as you said, you weren't saying, all kinds of glowing things about Charlie Kirk, but you did not condone the violence. And I think that that's where we should be right now. But I understand why people are conflicted. I understand, especially now, the way that, lawmakers and those on the right are responding. You don't know what it is, who it is. They're already making assumptions about, whether there's a trans things. There's a thing out there. Sources are saying that there was transgender anti-fascist language on the ammunition, all kinds of things. We don't know if it's true or not. Look, the shooter could be anybody, right? Yep. It could be a cisgender person. It could be straight, gay, trans, or whatever. The point is what are we doing about stopping gun violence and mental illness? Not if the left or the right is responsible for it. There have been people on the left who have been responsible for political violence, and there have been people on the right, mainly on the right, 75%. According to the Anti-Defamation League, has been political violence. Put up that thing so that folks can see it from the Anti-Defamation League. 75% between 2013 and 2023, right-wingers committed the vast majority of political murders. 75%. Jolly, the evidence is there. The numbers don't lie. They don't care. Do they not know, or they're doing it on purpose?
I mean, MAGA's never had a healthy relationship with facts or numbers. So, you know, the numbers weren't there to support this federal takeover of DC. There was no crime wave. They didn't care about the numbers then. The numbers were not there to attack the trans community after this shooting in Minnesota. They don't care. They don't have a good relationship with numbers. They don't care about facts. They don't care about the truth. They care about their agenda. The gentleman you talked to on the street, that first influencer you just played, and then Walter, all three of them said one thing in common. All three of them said one thing in common. They're going to blame this on the left and use it as a way to attack the left, because we all know what they're doing. We know what their agenda is. This is not an opinion. This is a quantifiable fact. It is what they are doing. So the question then becomes, because they're not going to stop, Don. You can show all the numbers you want. I can show all the numbers I want. We can talk about all the facts that we want to talk about. They're not going to care. MAGA doesn't care. MAGA has been looking for a reason, waiting for a reason to do exactly what they're doing right now. So the only question becomes is, where does that leave everything? What's next? How do we respond? Like, what do we do? Like, we need to stop acting like they're not doing this. This is what we've been doing since 1865 when the Civil War ended, is pretending like they're not preparing for the next one, because they are. They have been. Take this shit seriously and start holding these people accountable. I think that these people that are online making all these threats should face, criminal charges, but we don't hold them accountable. I think these people that go on TV and say that should face criminal charges. Jesse Waters, this is war. Steve Bannon, this is war. Alex, whatever his name is, Jones, this is war. You should be held accountable for that. We don't hold them accountable, and we let them continue to incite this violence, and then more violence follows. Enough is enough. Stop pretending like they're not doing exactly what they're doing, because they are.
Thank you, Jolly.
All right, Don. Appreciate it.
What are you up to today? Are you going to go and do some work, or are you going to lay low?
Well, I'm going to keep my movements private for now until I figure that out. But yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I'll talk to you. I'll call you after I'm done. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Later.
That's great. Jolly. Make sure you check out. He's got a YouTube channel. Check him out on all socials. All you got to do is just look for Jolly Good Ginger or Jolly, and you'll find it. And he's right. He's going to keep his whereabouts, his locations low. It's a weird moment. It's a weird moment. What are you going to do? How are you going to react to this? What's the right going to do? Because I know there's some folks on the right who are watching. They watch us, they hate watch us all the time. Or some of them actually like us. I don't mean on the right. I should say MAGA. There are folks on the right who watch. They don't hate us. But the MAGA folks don't like us. And so if you're in here and you're, watching, what are you going to do to make sure that your heroes, like a Charlie Kirk, your icons in the MAGA movement, don't continue to fall victim to gun violence, regardless of who committed the gun violence? What about stop worrying about who is committing it? Well, we should, I'm kind of conflicted about that as well. Does it not matter? I think it matters that the people who perpetrate this kind of gun violence are always white men, but no one asks for accountability for them. But you ask for transgender accountability. You ask for accountability for all this. Talk about black on black crime. I'm just saying. Why is the president of the United States what folks are asking? Why is he treating Charlie Kirk like he's the second coming of Christ, instead of focusing on what's important, and that is rooting out gun violence in this country? If you want to know anything about the Don Lemon Show, it's easy. Just go to donlemon.com. You can click on any one of those buttons. If you want to get our Substack, if you want to get our merch, if you want to get the show on our streaming show on YouTube, you can click on that. There's a join button. There's a subscribe button. And please support your independent journalists. So many of them, if you listen to Charlie Kirk's word, he attacked some of them. He attacked my friend Joy Reid, an independent journalist. I'm sure he's attacked other journalists. I don't even know if Charlie Kirk has ever said anything about me. I have no idea, and I don't really care at this point. But Are you hearing these types of conversations anywhere else on the mainstream media? Or are you getting, glowing profiles of Charlie Kirk that ignore what he has said about Black people, about gay people, about trans people, about women, about immigrants? But you're getting it here in independent media. So subscribe to the channel. If you go on YouTube, it's free. And that's very important for us, for you to do that. Make sure you hit the thumbs up because that does affect the algorithm. And then join. Our memberships are extremely reasonable. And we're out here fighting the good fight for you. Not for me, for you. So we need an army of people to support us, like the mainstream media has an army of people who are paying hundreds of dollars a month for their cable subscription. Okay? We are fighting fascism. We're fighting autocracy. We're fighting misinformation. We're fighting extremism. So I appreciate you joining us, and I thank you for your support. And I'm going to see you back here at 5 p.m. And I want you guys to be careful. So I'll see you back here at 5 p.m. Eastern time for Lemon Live at 5. Until then, be informed without being inundated and turn the TV off. Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.